Well, it's just about 2.5 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock. Good evening to you, Trinidad and Tobago and the rest of the world, whatever time it is, wherever you are. We want to welcome you to Men Talk on this station, Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise. And for those of you who are probably new to the program, we are at a new time. Last couple of weeks, we would normally be on Saturday from 7 to 8. We are now from 7 to 8 on a Monday. And just in case you're new to the station or new to the program, Men Talk really is a time and a space that we've set aside for men to talk. Just that, for men to talk. That's why we call it Men Talk. It's for men to empty themselves so we can be filled again. It's for men to learn. It's for men to teach each other, encourage each other. It's for men to understand what it is to be a man. Now, it's an interactive program, so you get an opportunity to call in and share your views based on the topic. But when we do open up the lines to take your calls, I'm asking, the rule is that just men call, please. We want men only because it's to encourage men to talk. I know, ladies, you have a lot to say, a lot to contribute, and we're not discounting that, but we're trying to encourage men to talk. So please, ladies, allow the men to talk. Ladies, you can interact with us by WhatsApping us, sending us not a voice note but a text message to 2751981, 2751981. That's the number, ladies, for you to text in. But men, you're gonna call. In fact, men, you can text in that number too, because I'm hoping that tonight we get it right in terms of the technology. If not, men, send in a voice note. Men, you can send a voice note to 2751981, or you can text in. So let's get on the way straight away. As you've heard from the promo, we've been here all week. Next Saturday is the International Day of the Boy Child, and I have on the line with me, my guest today is Dr. Jerome Tillotson. Now, Dr. Tillotson is the founder of International Men's Day that is celebrated by, I believe, more than 70 countries all around the world. And he is here as our guest. He has been a guest on the program before, and he's here guesting with us tonight again. Good evening to you, Doc.
Good evening, Professor, and to all your listeners out there.
Good to have you on board with us once again.
Thank you very much.
Great. So let's get straight into it. International Day of the Boy Child? Is that the correct term?
World Day of the Boy Child.
World Day of the Boy Child. Okay. So the obvious question is why? Why do we need a day for the boy child? I know we have International Men's Day, we have International Women's Day, but why the boy child?
Firstly, I felt that some of the problems that we face in our society, some of the social problems, it stems from a lack of proper upbringing of our boys. Mm-hmm. And when I mean some of the social problems, some of the bullying that we see, some of the fights in the secondary schools, we see this as, and even some of the crimes committed in Trinidad, we see it happening in the age group under 20 years. So I've realized that, that boys and teenagers, they have been neglected. Often when we look at issues, we tend to look at the men. Mm-hmm. And I felt that we need to shift the focus and see how we could tackle the root of the problem, the origins.
So we are celebrating. So how is this day to be commemorated? What exactly are people asked to do on this particular day?
Well, people have a variety of options. They could have seminars, they could have marches, walks, they could have it online. We had yesterday, India had an online seminar in which I participated, and there are people from Canada and Africa also taking part, so that we have some global collaboration. This Saturday, the Men's Day coordinators in Bahamas, they are having an online webinar, a summit at 7 a.m. in the morning. So further details will be provided for those who are interested. But there are various ways, if the school was open, teachers would have, encouraged their students to write essays or so about what it means to be a good and obedient boy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we have various ways we have been doing it over the last 3 years.
But what's the age that you're targeting when we talk about the boy child? Who is a boy? What age are we talking about?
I'm glad you mentioned that, because some people, they are confused about that. And I told people that, from birth till about 15 years, I'm seeing that as the boy, a critical stage before you enter in that phase into manhood. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing from birth to 15 years where we could look at the boy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's talk a bit then about some of the challenges that boys face. Now, I know one for sure is in terms of education. I mean, Correct. It has been shown that the girls they're doing much better than the boys at well, I'm not sure if it's all levels, but certainly at the primary and secondary level. Right. So, what are some of the other challenges that these boy children have?
Some of the other challenges that they face is that often they are not given that freedom to choose. They are not given that freedom to select certain early career options. If they have to decide on a career, their parents might or guardians might want to force them in a certain direction. So they don't have that option. A boy says he wants to become a painter, he wants to become an artist, he wants to become a mechanic, a carpenter, a plumber. His parents might look down on that. Could you imagine a boy this year, 2020, who's 14 years, tells his father or his mother he wants to be a farmer? His parents would say, agriculture and farming doesn't have a future. It's unsteady in Trinidad. So this is what I'm seeing as one of the challenges, that the boys don't have that freedom to choose, not just in the Caribbean, but across the world. You and your listeners might know that in some countries, boys are forced to become child soldiers. They carry weapons, they fight in wars. In other areas of the world, boys are forced to become breadwinners because their fathers die or their fathers are imprisoned or they are orphans, right? And so these are some of the challenges, and of course we know the regular ones where we hear boys being physically abused at schools, at homes, sexually abused too. And what I see are problems, but I'm not seeing solutions. I'm not seeing governments and NGOs providing solutions. They might be providing lip services, they might be providing bandages to cover the sore, but they are not providing those solutions. And I think this is the core of having this day. How are we overcoming these challenges? What solutions are we putting forth? Right? Recently in an interview, I told the reporter that in our schools, many of our schools do not have a counselor or psychologist or therapist to help boys who might be having, mental problems like maybe depression or peer pressure. So I see this as some of the problems.
Okay, so so these are some of the problems that the boys are facing. So,
Correct.
Okay, so how do we begin to address these? Now, I see that we have a day that is targeted for the boys, but that's just one day, and you may have lots of activities and seminars, etc.
Right.
But how do we get into the hearts and minds of all these people that are in contact with boys? How do we get to them the importance of the fact that young men do face challenges? How can we begin to address that? Or have we begun to address that?
But some areas in society have already started to address that, and you would know about the Scouting Association and the cadets, where they target these young boys and teach them discipline, teach them about etiquette and bravery and courage. But in many areas, right, like education, we have ignored the boys. We expect the boys to behave badly and disruptive in the classrooms. We expect them to be underachievers, right? It's almost like a stigma that they carry throughout life, right? You hear about certain allegations, and you expect a boy to have committed the crime or committed the incident. And I think what we need to do, as you rightfully mentioned, we need to ensure that the media plays an important role to sensitize the public. We need to ensure that the media projects certain images for the boy to look up to or aspire, right? And you would know, and your listeners, that often the media has often distorted and exaggerated images of what success is and what achievement is, maybe by some of the movies and television shows that are featured, so that the media, even the print media, right? You pick up any newspaper and see how much negative news. Where could a boy find proper reading material? He's having a problem at home. He's having maybe girlfriend problems at 12 or 13 years, right? Where could he find a number to call? We have all these hotlines, but these are for adults. You know, so a simple thing like a hotline for boys that will not be burdensome on the taxpayers. A simple center where boys could go in and get help, or boys could go in there and, you know, seek some counseling. We don't have that in our communities. We don't have it.
Okay, so we don't have it. How do we begin these things? How do we get these things? Who is responsible for that? Is it the government? Is it NGOs? Is, you know, who is supposed to initiate this thing? Because I understand the need for it, as you just outlined.
Right.
But, you know, we have to start somewhere. We have to lay the foundation. Somebody has got to get up and say, well, listen, these are all the issues that young men are facing. Let me start something. Let me, you know, start an organization, get especially for boys with a number that they can call if they have problems. So who is to do that?
You see, you ask a very, very good question, and you could ask that for any issue like poverty or unemployment or homelessness.
That's right.
And you know, the question I could also ask you is the government responsible for all its citizens? Or are NGOs involved? Should we create an NGO? Like if me and you and a few people come together to create an NGO, we encounter the obvious problem, a lack of funding. We will have to use our personal expenses to provide material, to provide transport for the boys, to provide clothing or food, right? So that the government, and it's so sad that our government, you know, has so much resources in the past and today, and other governments, and we tend to, I don't like to say it publicly, but we tend to use our resources often for projects that do not benefit the citizenry. Right? I'm not talking about our government, but other governments might invest money in their military, in their space programs, maybe in monuments, maybe in grand cultural festivals, or maybe in competition like the Miss Universe and Miss World competition. And that money could have been siphoned or filtered into projects to help boys who are underprivileged, boys who might be needing maybe prosthetic limbs, boys who might need medicine, boys who might need surgery, right? Boys who might need counseling. And this is the problem, and this is the issue that I am, you know, struggling with. Why governments ignore the boys, and then suddenly in the future they are willing to build more jails. You know, why can't we keep our boys and our men away from the jails? You know, why should we have these jails? Why can't we close down some of these jails and convert them into schools? Right? Instead of governments wondering if we should build more jails. And I think this is the problem, in that, you know, we have lost the direction somewhere. I don't know, you know, we are so concerned about short-term interests. We have become so materialistic and superficial that we are not seeing that our boys and even our girls, the entire citizenry, they are our future. They are the future of the world.
Yeah. It's 60 minutes and a half minutes after 7 o'clock. You're listening to Men Talk on Isaac 98.1 FM, The Promise. My guest today, by the way, I didn't introduce myself to you. I am Noel Richards, a.k.a. the Professor, and I am your host for this hour of Men Talk. And we have Dr. Jerome Toluxing. He's my guest for today, and we are talking about the challenges that young men face. Next Saturday is World Day of the Boy Child, and we want to focus on the boy child. We want to focus on the youth. Now, Dr. Jerome, the challenges that young men in Trinidad face, are they the same challenges that young men face worldwide, or do we have peculiar or unique challenges here in terms of our country, Trinidad and Tobago? Or would you say generally it's the same thing?
I would say generally our boys, I would say maybe 60% of our boys face problems similar to others across the world. Like something like underachievement is something that is global. Something like poverty, where boys are not be able to get proper nutrition and balanced meals. That's something global. But you also have to remember boys who might be in India might experience something different under the caste system. Boys who might be in China, where there's overpopulation, they might experience a different environment. A boy who is growing up in Africa, in a tribal village, might be expected at an early age to leave school and go into hunting or agriculture, to support his family. He becomes a man at an early age. A boy who is living in Latin America might be exposed to drug trafficking. A boy in South America, might be a victim of human trafficking. So they have these dangers that boys are exposed to on a daily basis, some more than others, right? And this is what, we need to address. But what I also want to say is that I don't want us on this day or other days to focus on the negative aspects of boys, but we also have to focus on boys who are role models for other boys. Boys who have achieved, talented boys, boys who are visionaries, future entrepreneurs, boys who are budding businessmen, boys who have ideas, creative boys, boys who are athletes, artists, gifted boys, so that we want to recognize these boys. Often these boys remain invisible, right? These boys remain invisible, and we tend to just focus on the adults. We live in an adult world. So I also want to mention and emphasize that it's a day when we also want to recognize boys who are successful, boys who have overcome challenges and hurdles, boys who are maybe from broken homes, boys who are from the orphanages, who have overcome these odds and become somebody in society at an early age.
Yeah. Now, Saturday is the World Day of the Boy Child, right? And it's not as
recognized.
Recognized is what I'm looking for. It's not as recognized as the other days. Men's Day, Women's Day, Mother's Day just went, and Father's Day is to come. And these are the days that are recognized, by most people, and people go out of their way to ensure that they celebrate these days.
Right.
This one that is coming up. Firstly, how long has it been? Is it the first time, second time? How long has it been celebrated?
Yeah, this is the third observance. Saturday coming will be the third observance.
Yeah.
And I am glad that you raised that issue, because often it's not how popular a day is, but how well intentioned the people involved in promoting the days and how successful that day was in saving lives, in rescuing lives, in promoting positive lives. And I'll give you a good example. A day such as Christmas is supposed to be one of the holiest days, and yet a lot of people get drunk for Christmas. A lot of people focus on the gifts and Santa Claus and the Christmas tree, and Christmas is one of the most popular festivals in the world, right, across the board. So that, without taking away anything from Christmas, I don't expect this Day of the Boy Child to become as popular as Mother's Day or Father's Day, but I don't want it to become something that is topical, something that is superficial. I want it something that after the 16th of May, that momentum will continue, and people will look back and say, you know what? I made a difference in my son or my grandson or my nephew or my cousin, and that I felt that I need to focus more on the upbringing of this male child in the home.
I was asking the question because earlier on you mentioned the media.
Right.
And, are you satisfied with the role the media has played over the last 3 years in terms of, highlighting this particular day? Because, as I said, it's not as popular. It's not up in your face like Mother's Day and Father's Day.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, what has been done in terms of publicly letting people know that this day is approaching and this is what we want to do for this day? How satisfied are you, concerning that, the role the media has played?
Yeah, it's a good question you ask, because other people have been asking me that, and I do not expect the media to focus on this, because this year the media focuses on COVID-19, coronavirus and other issues. And our media, and as you know, some of the foreign media outlets, they go after issues that are controversial, issues that sell, issues that attract attention, issues that might be short-term, issues that might be fluff. I want to use the blunt word fluff, right? So that they will not go after something, a day that has strong intentions, or might want to probably change the status quo or the social structure, or challenge the power relations, or challenge the government. As you, Professor, and others might know, sometimes the media would select stories, that might be anti-government or pro-government. So the media, it's unfortunate that often the media provides a disservice to the public. And it should not be. The media is supposed to educate and empower and enlighten. And we need to ask ourselves why, the media is not doing that job. It's a privilege, to be disseminate, sending this information to so many thousands of people.
But, the thing is, we've been talking, one of these phrases that have been used quite a lot recently amidst this whole COVID-19 crisis is the new normal. All right? We're talking about the new normal. Isn't this an opportunity for this to be part of the new normal, where we focus on the things that matter, we focus on the young men, focus on the young ladies? Isn't this an opportunity for this to come to the fore now, don't you think?
I agree with you totally. I agree with you, because this pandemic, one of the issues is that it's a focus on the family. Parents and mothers are now at home, children no longer have school, so that they are now, the family unit is focused on. There are some negative incidents, of domestic violence, but as you rightfully said, this new normal could be that platform and that change that we need, where, we now understand the value of humanity and the value of human bonds.
I agree with you. Folks, we're talking to Dr. Jerome Tilak Singh. He's the founder of International Men's Day, and he's our guest this evening. And the focus today is on the boy child, the young man. 0 to 15, Doc, you said?
Yes, correct.
1 to 15. We're focusing on the young men and the challenges that these young men face. One of the things, Doc, that we have been, advocating on this program, and I'm sure you would agree, this is something that's been said over and over, is that there's need for mentors, and there's a need for men who would step up and say, listen, let me see if I can mentor this young man. Let me see if I can be a father to this young man, or even an uncle to this young man. And this seems to be one of the missing link in this chain that will really bring things together. Do you, well, first of all, do you agree with that? And secondly, how do we go about getting mentors? Do we just, put out a call, gentlemen, we need mentors, we need people to father these young men? What do we do? What's your solution to this? What's your opinion on this?
Well, I agree with you that mentoring, providing proper role models, is the key to unlock some of our social problems. And unfortunately, we don't have mentors, or sadly to say, the mentors remain hidden in the fabric of our society. And they are not up there for other young boys to look up to. And sometimes, I don't like to say it, the wrong mentors are there. It might be a hip-hop artist might be somebody with bad lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
It might be, somebody in a community who is a gang leader. And sadly enough, he becomes a bad mentor. And that bad mentor would create a generation of bad mentors.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't have one person following him, he has more than one. So we need to find out how we could increase the dosage of good mentors, how we could have men who might be assisting in volunteer work, men who are, doing charity,
Yeah.
and encourage them to visit a place like the YTC and see how we could have, some social change. How those boys, after they leave YTC, they will become positive role models. So I think that is the issue, how we could get these good mentors out of the woodwork and into the public eye.
Yeah.
And sometimes these good mentors, they're very humble and quiet, and they don't want to be in the public eye. Right?
Well,
And I
that's
think
true.
this is what you see.
Right. I hear you, because sometimes in fact, when you see somebody in the public eye, you tend to think that he's doing it for publicity. So I believe there are a lot of people who are working quietly behind the scenes and doing things every day that
Right.
would assist those that need it most, the young men, the young ladies, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Now I wanna ask this. Do you think, based on what you're saying, because you said earlier on that we're building more jails and we're preparing for the young men who going astray.
Yeah.
Would you say that we are a reactive society rather than a proactive society, where we're preparing for them, messing up, rather than trying to prevent them from messing up?
Yeah.
And if so, then I'm looking for solution. How do we change this mindset? How do we get the powers that be to understand? Is it that, for example, as in the case as it is right now, where COVID-19 is the main focus, everybody's talking about the coronavirus and everything associated with it, that these other things, are not so important because they're not so much in the limelight? Is it that the powers that be are too busy trying to manage the day-to-day situation that things like this get pushed in the background? Situations like this, even the day that is coming up, it's not as important because we are dealing, we have to deal with issues, economic issues and all these other issues on a day-to-day basis, that there's no time to really to focus on issues like mentoring young men and preparing, young men, dealing with the issues of the youths and that sort of thing. Is it that we're too busy?
I want to agree with you, and that word "too busy" is, I think, common. It's a global problem. It's a global problem. And what you said earlier about us not being proactive is so true. I think you have hit the nail on the head, in that we are more or less like a knee-jerk society. Something happened and we want to react to it, but we are not looking to see what was the root of that problem, what was the origin of that cause. And I think that, shows that we need people maybe in certain leadership positions who might be more focus oriented, or who might have a holistic view of society. And what I mean by that is that we also have to see the interconnection. If there's a high level of crime, we don't just go and increase the police force. We find out who are committing the crimes, what age, how could we prevent more crime in the next 5 years. So I think this is what we need to do. We need to examine this connection. There's a connection between maybe poverty, crime, unemployment, homelessness. We need to see connections. We need to find out how we could deal with problems simultaneously.
Yeah.
We cannot just deal with a problem and then say full stop, let's move on. I think this is the problem. If we have proper mentoring, certain problems will disappear. And I think we need to focus on that. Maybe we need to teach a course at the university or high school, mentoring. Have a subject. We already have social studies.
Well, why not? Why not? because mentoring is not something that you really learn. I mean, it's not taught. Most mentors are people who would have experience, whatever it is, and then they use their experience to teach others. So, okay, 1 second.
Praise the Lord, my brothers. This is Minister Phil Tarver, and you're listening to the Men Talk program with the professor on Isaac 98.1, The Promise.
Folks, we want to let you know that you can start sending in your WhatsApp questions or comments at 275-1981. 275-1981. You can send in your comments, your questions, your suggestions, and we're going to address it. And I'll open up the lines in a couple of minutes. Let's try it again tonight and see if it will work. Of course, that number will be 622-1981 or 628-1981, and that's for the men only. Remember, men only can call in. Ladies, please, you can send us your WhatsApp messages to 275-1981, and we'll be sure to address it. Now, Doc, how would you want... In fact, before I ask that question, we're talking about 0 to 15, all right, when we're talking about the boy child. But during that age, 0 to 15, it's when they're in the care of their parents, their teachers, basically. Isn't that a challenge in terms of doing something? Because it means that the primary caregivers, those who are primarily responsible for these young boys, are the ones that are at home and at school. How can a third party get in there to effect any kind of change or to do any kind of good? How do we do that? Because we're talking about minors. We're not talking about teenagers or even adults. We're talking about minors. How do we connect with these minors?
Well, firstly, we do it through the media. Many of these minors watch a lot of cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we do not have local cartoons in the Caribbean that have mentors or proper role models, right? A lot of the cartoons are foreign-based.
Mm-hmm.
Even some of the shows. Why can't we have some of the local theaters, the drama groups, producing shows to be shown, in the evening time for some of these minors to look at? And of course, it has to be interesting and appealing for them to follow,
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be every day, it could be 2 or 3 times a week, but we need to ensure that the media becomes, that area for intervention, because as you rightfully say, you can't just go and ring the doorbell in somebody's home or call on the phone and make an appointment to see their son, and say your son needs mentoring.
Mm-hmm.
So it is only through the media, electronic media or print media, that we could reach out to some of these boys who might be experiencing problems, and these problems are being hidden away or swept under the carpet.
Do you think we need to get back to that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child? Do you think we need to get back to that? Because that has been lost, to a large extent.
It is.
So do you think that is one of the things, the losses that really has brought us to where we are today?
I certainly agree. And you see, one of the unfortunate results of modernization and progress is that we lost that community spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And you would know that in Trinidad here we have residential gated communities, and then we have hotspots,
Mm-hmm.
and then we have people in between, and we have squatters. And we do not have that community spirit, that solidarity. A lot of people might disagree with me, and they might give examples of carnival where we all jump up for 2 days, or a fete. But we do not have that community spirit that you are talking about, where the village comes together to raise that child, to raise those children.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that era you're talking about. I've heard about it, where a boy is walking through the street and he's disrespectful to a neighbor, and that neighbor has the right to intervene and to correct him.
Yeah.
He sees a boy from the village stealing mangoes or fighting, and that neighbor has no blood relation to that boy. He's neither uncle nor nephew, and he has the right to stop the fight, to intervene, and to ensure that that boy knows that what he's doing is wrong.
Yeah, and that's no longer so.
It's no longer so. We have become alienated, we have become sheltered, and your listeners might know the word recluse. We have become very reclusive. We have been in our cocoons there, and we are so engrossed in ourselves that we lose touch with our neighborhood and our communities.
Yeah, I hear you. Folks, we want to open up the lines to take your calls right now. 622-1981 and 628-1981, 622-1981 and 628-1981. We've got Dr. Jerome Tilaksing on the line. Let's see if we can make this work today. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. All right, so Dr. Jerome, if we get cut off, I want you to call again, okay? I will contact you again, all right?
No problem.
Okay, so let's see if we can do this. Hello, good evening, you're on the air.
Good night, sir.
Good evening to you. Good evening.
Yeah, good day. Mr. Jerome, I'm one of your persons that have been, I always listen to you, and I just want to put in an input. What happened? There's a saying that we must always remember where we came from. And I think that all of us were children before. We were, young, we were in the school, we were taught in those days, about family values, and so on. And, I think that parents, in fact, the adults, are the ones who have to drive us forward and drive the youth forward. And the thing is that when I was a kid going to school, I did all kind of crazy things, and like break beach, play, hang out, go, like like after school or after vacation, I will, go cinema, like when you watch a karate show, when you finish, you kick down a pan, no kind of discipline in those times, but the thing is that I think that that right now the youth today, the ministries should come together and form a task force and go into schools. You remember a long time when the Ministry of Health used to come and they show us about like gonorrhea and all these things, and we would just sit down there and just crouch up and say, my gosh, look what's happening. If the other ministries could come together, like the police, Ministry of Health, like social value, religious body, come to a task force and go into the schools and lecture to these children. We lecture to them about basic laws, let them know what is right, and they will know what is wrong. Teach them the consequences they have to face up to. Like the ministry, like national security, possession of a weapon, drugs, Teach them about, the consequences they face up to. Let them know that when they go home, if police come to their homes and they arrest, their parents or whatever, they do anything illegal, the whole family has to go, has to be arrested, and they will lose their future. They will end up in the room for boys or girls, You see, children around that age group, they just like to play, just have fun, but they don't know the consequences.
Consequences, yeah. I hear
if
you.
If they know the consequences that have to face up to, then they will think twice about doing things, like joining gangs and getting involved in drugs and firearms and all these things, right? And also, the religious body that comes in now as like during the school time period, if somebody children, some are slow learners, when they pass out from school, they leave school, they will have some kind of a hope.
Yeah.
They will have hope, they will say, they'll always hope, God will give them that inspiration, that Holy Spirit will be in them, it will be manifested into them. So the children, I think that they could change, but remember, there's only one place they could change, and that is in school. That is where all the children assemble in school. That is where, because we can't go house to house and lecture the children.
So we do it in the school.
So they spend all their life, the entire life growing up in school. So we have to start from in school.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
know?
Thanks for
All
your
right.
contribution, Basin. All right. So I don't know if Dr. Jeremiah, were you hearing at all?
No, I wasn't here.
Oh, you didn't hear. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So it means we still haven't gotten it right. Okay. The gentleman was saying that we should target the schools.
Right.
Because that's where the children spend most of their time. And if we get them there, he was talking about the government. Remember when government used to come into the schools and have information sessions on things like STDs and that thing and things like that. The young children, young boys would understand the dangers that they face when they go out there, the challenges. So this is what he was saying. So, how do we do this? Men, I want to ask you, gentlemen, to send in a voice note to 2751981, 2751981. So, because I was hearing you, but Dr. Jerome wasn't hearing, and I'm sure it went across the air for sure. But Dr. Jerome wasn't hearing. So let me try again. There's another call in line. Dr. Jerome again. We're gonna have to try and do it again and see.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah. Hello. Good day. Hello. 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 Okay, so let's try. Hello. Okay, let's see if we can have both at the same time. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now, yes.
Right, okay. See, what I'm saying, I think is a problem we have, eh? Now, I've listened to programs, and I've always listened to everybody, the men and what we should do. And I think part of the problem we have is that even at the, let's say, the church level, I think we need to start preaching to the fathers. We need to target the fathers to target the son. Because when you look at it, and from my own experience, what I know being around and seeing what is happening, most of the young guys gravitate to gangs and these things because there is no father figure. There is no lead control of a male around. And then if they're easily influenced and then they want to get things, and it's a fast way.
Mm-hmm.
So my thinking is that we have to, from the level of the church, have to start to target the fathers that say, oh, look, you need to instill a value. Because I tell people, when we were growing up and I was going for a job interview, there were people in the village, older men than me, that would make sure that I had a pants. Somebody would give me a shirt. Somebody would give me a shoes. So there was this genuine looking out for you and guiding of you by the older men. But then you kind of can't do this now, because if you talk to somebody, child on the road, little prove of their boy child, and them go home and tell their parents, Mr. John meet me down the road and rough me up and boof me up. Parents coming down the road to fight you. So you see, I understand the idea where everybody's saying target the train. But you can't target the train if the train is not even willing, because even if you try to go to the schools, look the other day reading where there was a situation in Tobago where they were doing this Zoom thing and some child run
Pornography, yes.
things across the thing, and when the teacher spoke to them, they became abusive to them. So that shows you what is happening. And that is because that child knows that, hello, I have the support of my parents.
Yeah.
And that is why I'm saying that every time we raise the conversation of how do we get back the youth, we have to start not even talking about the government being involved, the church, where, as we say, we have large gathering of people and all these things, and where the adults are, that is where we have to start to preach to them. We have to get the adults to recognize your role as a parent is to raise the child with certain values.
Yes.
And if you're not raising the child, and a lot of people tend to raise the child and say, well, you make the child, and they're going to learn, and wherever I think they have to answer for themselves, not recognizing that you have a right, a conscious right as the parent, to instill that value. Yes, if the child turns away when they become an adult at 18 years, 19 years, no problem. But during the formidable years, the value should be instilled. Anyhow, let me
Thank you so much.
thanks for the little time and move on.
Blessings, thank you.
All right, yeah.
Don't know how you got in this mess. You're standing there looking, saying, where do I begin? Maybe it's too late, too long, too much, too far. I've got good news. Something I think you need to understand.
7:47 is the time, moving like a jet. So, again, the gentleman Doc was talking about targeting the parents and targeting the fathers, because you can't really target the child. A child really can't make decisions and do anything, but if we have the fathers and the support of the fathers, then we'll be able to help raise the children. And one of these things that he said, and I feel that is important, is, the change, the shift now to, this is my child, nobody else can help me raise my child. So don't touch my child. So anything you correct my child, I come in for you. And that is the mentality that we have had to face, within recent time, within recent years. So that people now are afraid to mentor children, to raise children, to correct children. Because you correcting a child, even the child is going wrong, and you correcting a child, and you may face the wrath of the parents.
I totally agree, and it's not just, the parent or the father being ignorant, but it's a clash in values, a clash in morals, a clash in ethics, a clash sometimes between old generation and a new generation. So that we need to look at this, this problem from different angles, Why would a father, tell his child at home, don't let anybody hit you at school, hit them back.
Yeah.
Or something like, why let that boy take your lunch for? You have to go and hit him. You have to go and do that. Instead of going through the proper channels of authority. So I think that the advice, sometimes could be misconstrued or misinterpreted by the child. The father has good intentions. He's trying to teach his boy to be brave and to be courageous, but the way that message is transmitted is wrong. And I think this is where the mentor has to intervene. And this is why, as we mentioned earlier, maybe mentoring should be a subject in school, or at the university level, so that it is something that needs to be instilled in this generation for the next generation to be better.
Yeah. So, what is the theme for this year?
This year, the theme is empowering our boys for a better world. So we are looking at the issue, how could we equip our boys with certain skills, certain mindsets, certain attitudes, how we could change their psyche for them to feel empowered. And empowered, for some of your listeners, it simply means being confident of yourselves, being sure. Sometimes that lack of certainty makes the boy appear weak. It might make him appear confused, and a lack of direction, a lack of goals, a lack of purpose. So this is what we mean by being empowered.
Understood. So, Doc, how would you want celebrations to take place this year? What do you want us? What are you saying to us as parents in the home now? Saturday is the World Day of the Boy Child.
Right.
What do you want us to do on that particular day, or even going forward? What are you saying to us as parents?
It's just a simple request. I don't want you to give your boys any flowers or buy them chocolate. I don't want you to buy any gifts for them. I just want you to spend more time with your boys. And when I mean spend more time, I don't mean sitting down for 5 hours in front of the television with your boy. I want you take your boy outside. Maybe teach him how to build a kite, teach him how to fly a kite. Some of these boys, as you would know, Professor, they never grew up learning how to pitch marbles. Because lunchtimes they're doing lessons in their schools, in their classes. They're so pressured by the academic environment. And I would just like this day where you spend more time, and that isn't a big request. It isn't something where you have to go and spend money, right? Spend more time with your boy. If you're doing something, you're fixing the car, you're watering the plant, have your son there. Have your son. He might not want to be out there Might want him to get wet if he's too young, but have him in the porch. Let him see you helping around with chores in the house. If you're vacuuming, let him see that you're being helpful so he wouldn't grow up and have the wrong perception that he might get from other members of his family that his father is lazy. His father is a deadbeat, you know. So when you spend more time on this day, the boy will understand how his father spent a day, you know, what are some of the achievements, however small it might be, for the father. You know, sometimes we take the work that our parents do for granted. They come home tired, and that might be perceived as a form of laziness, or they don't care about their sons. So I think this is what I would like, you know, that they're already at home. It's not a school day, and schools are closed now. But I would really like if parents, particularly fathers, or the stepfathers, or the grandfathers, the uncles, spend some time with that boy child in their community and teach them some values. It doesn't have to be you're telling the boy, well, I want you to do this and do that, but give him some lessons with a moral. Send him a subliminal message that would show that he's growing up in an environment and a world that is protected, that he will be cared for, will be properly nurtured, and that his future is secure. A lot of time boys are growing up in this country and they are afraid because of the crime. They are afraid to go out there to maybe play cricket on the road or maybe play small ball football. There's this fear that our boys are growing up in. And I think that, you know, the family unit has been under threat for the last few years, and we need to ensure that on this day we just spend more time. Let our boys know that they are secure, that they're protected despite all this negativity and these negative vibes.
Yeah, I hear you, and I agree with you 100%. But of course, you know, even with all this that has been happening for the past couple of months, and the lockdown, shutdown, a lot of men have lost their way, have lost their jobs.
Correct.
They've lost their means, to provide an income for their family, and it's been very challenging for some men. And it's difficult at this time, you know, with your family in need and you being the man. You know, it takes a lot out of you to, you know, keep a smile on your face and to keep a positive attitude. But, you know, we want to encourage men because the boys are looking at you, your children are looking at you, and they're looking at you for support, they're looking at you for encouragement, they're looking at you for strength. And so we want to encourage the men, you know. I want to encourage you, and I think I can say we want to encourage you, that even men need to seek help at this time. You need to be able to stand strong, you know, for your family. You need to be able to, your family needs to be able to look to you for strength, look to you for courage, look for you for hope. And a lot of men right now, I know, are facing that challenge, and it's difficult for them. But I was saying to somebody today that this is what we are called to do as men. We have to be strong. We have to take courage in the face of whatever, you know, circumstances that presents itself to us. We are the ones that the women look to. We are the head of the home. And our young boys need to see that. They need to know how to handle a crisis, how to handle a difficult situation. What do you do when things don't go the way you plan? And so we really want to encourage the men to, you know, to be there. And if you need the help, reach out for it. Reach out for him. One last thing, Doc, I want to ask you before we wrap up, because we're almost out of time. You talk about the men going outside with their children and maybe pitching some marbles and, you know, showing them to do some things that we did when we were growing up.
Right.
What about the reverse? What about spending time with your children? Because a lot of times we leave the children on the tablets and on the laptops and that kind of thing. What about us spending time, maybe getting into their world, trying to connect with them at that level? Because you know, for me, I have three young boys. You know, one is a teenager and two are just pre-teens. And when something happens, like with my phone or the television, I have to call them to see about it. You know, they have to fix up. So they know more about that. So how about getting into their world where, you know, show me how you do this, son. Show me how to fix this, son. How about that as well as, you know, taking them outside? Would you, you know, suggest, would you approve of something like that?
I certainly would, because you see that reverse role play that you talk about, it gives that boy a certain power, but it also gives him a certain sense of pride and achievement. That I know something that I could now help daddy with.
Right.
I could help mommy with. You know, that I know how to operate this iPad or tablet. I know how to operate, you know, this computer, this laptop. You know, I could fix this. So it gives the boy a sense of accomplishment, a sense of fulfillment. You know, it also makes him feel that he's part of the home contributing, and he's not just eating whole day or sleeping. So I totally agree with you by, you know, seeking their interest and seeking to be part of their world makes them also feel that you are appreciating the atmosphere that they're in, their environment. You know, and what I also want to say, you know, we have been talking for the last 1.5 an hour about the ideal situation where the father is at home. But I want to tell the boys out there and others who are listening that in homes where the father figure is not there, right, there's no father, no uncle or grandfather, I think that the females there have to show these boys the importance of Jesus Christ as that male role model in their life.
Yeah.
So that if a boy is growing up, doesn't know his father, maybe his father died, tragic circumstances, or his father is incarcerated, or his father might be abroad working to support the family, and he doesn't have that physical contact with the mortal father, I think that his family should ensure that that boy knows about the life of Jesus Christ, and that those boys growing up without father figures at home should see Jesus, you know, in the New Testament as somebody who could change their lives.
Amen. Amen to that. That's a good note to end on. Dr. Jerome Tillotson, thank you so much for being my guest tonight. And, you know, I just want to not just say thank you, but encourage you. You know, you're doing a wonderful job in terms of, you know, the men and the boys. And I know November 19th is a long way off, but it's International Men's Day. We look forward to, you know, all that's going to happen between now and then. And of course, you're going to be back again because I wanted to tell us about some of the plans for International Men's Day. But the focus now is on Saturday, and I'm trusting that the men would have been listening and they would take your advice to do something special. Maybe, you know, even if we start on that day, that it will continue. So thanks again, Doc. Blessings. I don't know if you want to say, we only have about 30 seconds. Is there anything else you'd want to add before you leave?
I just want to say that you're doing an excellent job, and I wish this program would be longer, or maybe 2 days a week, but keep up the good work.
Thing you so much. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Okay then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So that was Dr. Jerome Tillotson. Can I just play a little bit piece of my thing? Yeah, that was Dr. Jerome Tillotson. He's the founder of International Men's Day, which is celebrated by over 80 countries in the world. And of course, you heard from his accent, he's from Trinidad and Tobago. So we can influence the world. Can we not? Yes, we can. So folks, thank you so much for allowing me to be in the company for the last hour for Men Talk. We'll do it again next Monday at the same time, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. And I want to echo, you know, this program really is too short. I wish we had more time, but you know, who knows? Maybe sometime in the future we'll be able to do that. But for now, we make it work, and well, I have to make the technical part of it work as well. I apologize once again. We'll get it right. Hopefully by next week we'll get it right. So thank you. Patrick S. Dyer is up next with the Praise Party. Is it still called the Praise Party, Patrick? So Patrick is going to come and he's going to take you all the way to 12 o'clock. God richly bless you. The Praise Groove, yes, the Praise Groove with Patrick S. Dyer. So blessings to you. And don't forget, Saturday, this coming Saturday, the World Day of the Boy Child. Do something with the boy children, yeah? Blessings to you. As I always tell you, you've only got one life to live. Let's live it right. Let's encourage somebody to live their life right. We do that, our living will not be in vain. God bless you. I'm Noel Richards, a.k.a. The Professor, and I'm gone.